Alright guys, I get a lot of questions obviously about speed and how to gain speed, and really I think that speed, that word, is maybe the incorrect word to use, because it's really more about control, and if you gain control you'll gain speed. So what I like to try to do for me personally, and for most human beings out there, we have a dominant side and a weaker side. And knowing what your weakness is, for me, my weaker side obviously needs improvement. And I used to spend a lot of time, single strokes and double bass and all of this stuff trying to gain, control over what I was trying to do. Well, eventually I realized that the straight notes, while that is cool, and really the only way to get better at playing double bass is to play double bass, the only way to get better at playing blast beats is to play blast beats. We know this. But in order to gain control and true control over what we're doing, I think that maybe we should try different exercises for this type of thing. So recently, I've been trying to experiment with playing anything that I can play with my left foot. I play with my left foot. So, meaning that when I go out on a gig or whatever, just say for instance I'm out on a top 40 gig or whatever, somebody calls me and says, hey, our drummer's sick, can you come do this gig? I'll go do a gig, but I'll set up completely left-handed. And that allows me to be able to work on being able to play baga, gaga, instead of because once you get once you're able to have the control over your weaker limb to execute these types of patterns, your speed will go right through the roof. And I don't think a lot of guys that are playing fast are really talking about how much control will improve your speed as opposed to just sitting there working on the notes. Another big factor is endurance. And a big key factor for me for when I was doing this whole double bass thing was trying to, obviously play as fast as I could for as long as I could. Because most everybody I know, you can pull every drummer out of this store and ask them to come in here and play double bass, and everybody can hit 210, 220, but maybe just for a second. So really the issue is not speed, it's endurance. It's holding the sustain, it's keeping it going. So for that type of stuff, I use a lot of different exercises. I'm not going to show you anything in particular, but set a time limit on it. Anybody that knows, a lot of my educational work through online has seen the single stroke exercise, the 30-minute free fall that I do, and all of that has a set time limit. I don't worry about BPM. BPM means nothing. How long you play is going to dictate to you where you go as a player. So for me, anybody ever seen the right hand, left foot, left hand, right foot exercises between single stroke, doing this kind of thing? I put a time limit on it, and I'll try to do it for 10 minutes, let's say. So if I know my left foot and my left hand is weak, I'll take two of the separate things, control and endurance, and not worry about speed and BPM. It's all about control and endurance. So with that in mind, these are my two weak limbs. So I put a time limit on that. Do it for 10 minutes. When you start executing this stuff for long time periods, you're training your muscles faster than you would by playing a bunch of single notes. So I found this, and especially through my students at home, it's way more beneficial as far as doing exercises to work on time limit for this type of stuff. Another big thing for me as far as that whole thing, is to be concentrated enough to actually sit down and work on what you need working on. Because how many of us say, we're going to go practice? I'm going to go practice, honey. I'll be back in a little bit. And we go to our drum kit, and maybe you practice for 1, 2, 3 minutes, and then you go, and you start playing the same thing that you've been playing for the last 10 years. You just end up jamming, not practicing. Not saying that jamming doesn't make you better, but it's really hard as a human being to say, I need work on this, and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to get it. So that, I believe, is probably the most important thing for all of this, is to know what your weakness is and to set aside X amount of time every day or whenever you can get to the drum kit to work on that. It requires a lot. As a person, it really requires a lot of self-motivation to do something like this. And most of us drummers, we know that. It sucks to go over and struggle through something that you know that you should be playing. And for me, it was always those issues. Lately, I've learned to control my thinking process and my time management, which is another thing. Time management is very important because, again, you get to a situation, I'm going to go practice, and you end up doing a couple minutes and you're done. So time management is one thing. And any of the great practicers, they all have a really good time management scale. I've never been a practicer. I don't practice. I play a lot, right? I mean, I play hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. I don't practice. I've never been that guy. When I was growing up, as we were talking about earlier, I was too busy playing with people. I was too busy writing songs. I never practiced. Not saying that doing that wasn't practice, but it's a different thing when you think about what it is you need to work on. Tackling that is very tough. So, forget all the exercises, so to speak, as far as like a new exercise that you can do. Honestly, I believe that if you own the book Stick Control, if you can play stick control with your hands and with your feet, you're a dangerous drummer. It's the only exercises you need are in that book. It's the only thing that you ever need to do to become a technically proficient drummer. The other thing that truly makes one a better player, but not just on drums, but a better musician, is to play with people. Play with as many people as you can, because, for instance, every guitar player that I've ever played with, and it doesn't matter if it's in a metal band or some guy calls me to come do a Latin gig and I've never heard the material, or a blues gig, or whatever it happens to be, I don't stress it, because I go in there, I have enough experience playing with people that I know that if I watch the musician's feet, right? Every guitar player, every bass player I have ever played with in any style of music, if they're playing and they're going to go into another part, their feet do something. Most guitar players raise their heels just a little bit and drop into another part. So they're doing their thing, they're singing, you don't know the song, you're just watching, and then you notice everybody's feet, like the bass players usually take a step back or a step forward. Guitar players usually kind of bob into the next part. So if you know that, if you can pay attention and watch people, you don't have to know the material. You can watch other people that know the material and get through just fine. And this is stuff that you do not learn in a bedroom on a practice pad. You know what I mean? These are the important things about playing. So don't worry about the exercises part of it. Play with people. Do the exercises that you are doing as long as you can. Time limit, set it up for that, and focus on control. Don't worry about the speed. Those three things right there are going to get you to the place that you want to be as a player, I feel. At least and I'm not where I want to be as a player, but I'm getting there. I'm starting to really understand a little bit more my playing and things that are happening within my playing myself. So, yeah. That's basically it. I mean, those are the three things that I could say focus on the most, and if you focus on those particular things, that's going to move you more forward in the direction that you want to go than worrying about what technique is George using for double bass, What about Derek Roddy? What is he doing, None of that matters. Play the drums, and you'll get there, Time management, know what your weaknesses are, control, endurance, and play with people. That's it. Well, I think the most important thing was I had a very musical family. Everybody played an instrument. My dad played guitar and sang. My mom played piano and sang. My brother played guitar. My cousin played bass. My uncle played horns. So from a very young age, all the way up until I was in high school and I started playing with my own friends and having our own bands and stuff, there was always music in the house, always. So, and a wide variety of stuff. Everything from Mahavishnu Orchestra to Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich, Big Band, Leonard Skinner, Allman Brothers, the Southern rock stuff, Boston, Kansas, you know, all the music from the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, so I grew up playing already all of this styles before I ever discovered metal, because there really wasn't metal.
Yeah,
I mean, my brother is 9 years older than me, and he basically was responsible for introducing me to Black Sabbath and Alice Cooper and Kiss, you know.
Yeah.
So as soon as that happened, him and myself and my cousin, we started a band, and I was maybe 8, 9 years old or so. And, you know, we were just playing cover songs, you know, whatever, but we were playing, and we would play, you know, in the community for, like, my mom would have her friends over, and we'd play for them and stuff, you know, and so it really started like that, as far as having the family influence. Shortly after that, because I was in, like a suburban neighborhood, there was a lot of kids that played, you know, guitar, other drummers, bass players. So I would invite everybody I could over to play, you know, to jam, you know, with people, because there's only so much you can do playing to records, you know, as far as like how you internalize music. So very important thing for me at a young age was play with people, play with as many people as I can. So by the time I was 14, 15, 16 years old, I already had a band. We were playing original material. You know, so I started, you know, at a very early age playing, and then kind of melted my way into being in bands. Definitely. Well, one of the guys that when I was about 15, 16 years old that I met was a guy named Bob Moore. Bob was a little older than me, maybe 6 years older than I was, but he was already into recording and doing stuff. And some of you guys may know Bob's name from the Nile Records. He recorded all of that stuff, all of the earlier stuff. And, you know, it's him and I, we basically grew up building recording studios from the ground up, you know.
Cool,
Outside of that, the only job I've ever had, you know, as a working adult was in a music store like this. So I was on the other side of the counter for years. So that led me to a lot of product knowledge, you know, about all the different manufacturers, and then I started meeting all of those people, you know, the people behind the scenes, not necessarily the musicians out playing, but the people that were supplying the musicians with their gear and stuff. So I started meeting all of these people, and that's really how I worked my way into, you know, having, you know, a career in playing drums. Because honestly, when I was playing in all the bands and when I was doing that stuff, none of those people gave me the time of day. You know? So it was because of a couple of different things, but the product knowledge, meeting the people, and being in that environment that allowed me to be able to grow enough, you know, as a musician, as a person, you know, as a player, to end up here, you know, to get here. Yeah, it did. But I believe, honestly, now that the internet is changing a lot, it's changing so fast. I've noticed a decrease in traffic, not only at my site, but Drummer World, Virgil Donati's site, George's site. You know, when I put my forum up, there was my forum, Virgil had a forum, Mike Mangini had a forum. There was a forum called House of Drumming at the time.
So just a couple of...
There was just a few. Drummer World didn't exist, Pearl Drummers Forum didn't exist, you know, all the big ones now, they weren't around then. So I was one of the first guys that had that, and now I'm looking at my website going, well, you know, traffic isn't up what it used to be. Everybody's got a forum. It's not special anymore. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to do? What new format, you know, are we going to come out with? Because everybody now is onto the Facebook and the Twitter stuff, which I don't have a Facebook account. There's plenty of Derek Roddy's up there. None of them are me. So just so you guys know. But that type of instantaneous, I think what happened with the forum is somebody would ask a question, and sometimes it'd be 2 or 3 days before you get a response. Now with Twitter and Facebook, it's instant. And I'm noticing a change on the internet where people's attention span is much shorter than it was even 5 years ago. Now they want instant You know,
Exactly.
how do I get my double bass drum better? They sit there and they wait. Clink, something comes back. If nothing comes back, boom, they're on to something else.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what are we going to do now that's going to be an updated version of the forum that's going to be kind of a mix between Facebook and Twitter and the traditional forum aspect?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what I'm trying to come up with, because I don't necessarily believe that putting your stuff online right now, expecting to get somewhere, is the thing to do right now. It may have been 5-10 years ago.
Now there's too much.
I think there's too much information out there, and it's weird because there's so many good players. I mean, it's hard to even, you can sit on the internet for 4 days and find drummers that just blow your mind.
Yeah.
And if I think back 10 years ago, before there was internet, you could count them all on one hand.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just because we didn't know who the guy was in his bedroom shredding.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so now we do, but how do we separate, you know, ourselves from all these other killer players? You know? So that's something I'm trying to think about now. Well, I mean, there's a lot of things. The biggest thing right now is, the thing that's sticking in my mind is the fact that the music industry is changing so much that it's no longer possible to make a living solely from playing music. That's the biggest thing that sticks out in my mind, because I know guys that are playing, you know, 50,000 seat arenas that are barely paying their mortgage payment and their car payments. You know, so it's very tough right now. You know, that's the one thing that sticks out right with me personally. I don't necessarily blame the internet for it. I blame the musicians that are playing for it, because a lot of these cats, a lot of these guys are, you know, they'll go on tour and lose money for the sake of being on tour because they think, oh, the exposure. But meanwhile, live attendance is going down. Prince canceled a tour this year. Paul McCartney canceled the rest of his tours. John Mayer canceled his tours this year. You know, so all of the people that genuinely are concerned about making a living playing music are realizing, I can't make a living, and they're canceling their tours. Because, I mean, think about it, gas prices are 4 times what they used to be, even 5-10 years ago. That used to be your profit. Now all your profit is going into putting gas into the vehicles that are moving you around.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not saying that it's going to be like that forever, but unless all of us wise up and figure out a better way to do it other than signing a contract and going on tour, that doesn't work anymore. In this day and age, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I'm watching band after band after band come home broke, break up, you know, go back to working their day jobs because they're frustrated, you know.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that sticks out in my mind, and you know, what are we going to do as musicians to change that? You know, how are we going to change it? Because it's up to us. You know, everybody wants to blame the internet. I mean, I think the internet is great. I think
if
that
you use it in the right way.
Yeah, well, you know, and the thing is, right now we're limited by technology, meaning that you can't get a full 1080 framed, you know, nice high definition looking video coming in on your monitor, not even on a little monitor, without buffering and waiting for it and whatever. Think about when we're able to get 1080i on a 70-inch plasma screen like that.
Yeah.
When that happens, which is only about 5 years away, 7 years away, when that happens, the live industry, the live music industry is going to stop.
Yeah.
Because people aren't going to want to leave their homes, because they can watch it right there in high definition with 6 camera angles and, you know, bam, like that. Why go to a club and see it when you can watch it in surround sound in your own living room?
True.
Not saying that there won't be live bands. Of course, there's always going to be live entertainment. But you're going to start seeing a big shift in people going out and staying in their homes when the technology reaches us, you know? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's the best advice I can give, is don't solely try to do this. Go to school. You know, do and become as much as you can do and become. Because like I said, there's few and fewer people are being able to make a living doing this. I can't make a living doing solely this. And I'll be straight up honest with everybody. I do not make a living from playing drums, right? This, for me, is more of a hobby. It's more of, I enjoy this. It does bring income in, right? But this isn't my focus in life, you know, and that's fine. That's okay. Because somebody may look at me and go, oh, that guy must live, eat, and sleep drums. I did for a while. you know, and I still do. I mean, every day I'm thinking about drums, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Every hour, every 40 minutes of every hour, I'm thinking about drums, you know. But that doesn't mean that it's all of who I am, you know. So become more than you think you can become. I mean, that's the best advice I can give anybody, is to, you know, learn. I've had a real problem with people in my life not wanting to learn, not wanting to gain experience from their experience. You know, they'll go through something really hard and they don't learn anything from that. They don't make any changes to prevent that type of thing from happening again. You know, and this is kind of what I'm talking about. It's, you know, learn from life experiences and turn that into something positive that can, you know, move you steps forward instead of steps backwards.
Yeah,
you
so
know?
don't give up, but
Right.
be more.
Yeah, don't give up on music. Nobody's saying don't play music. Play music. Do it all the time. But you should do it if you're making $1 million or if you're making $1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the money part of it, it's really irrelevant. You know, music isn't about money. Here's something I'd like to point out.
Yeah.
We've been a species as an upright being on this planet for about 240,000 years. That's all.
Yeah.
Together as a species, including Homo sapien and Erectus and Cro-Magnon, all of that stuff, about 1 million years, okay? We are the youngest species on this planet, okay? So if you look at, say, an alligator's been around for 400 million years.
Yeah.
We've been around for 240,000. Okay, so the point I'm making is from 240,000 years ago all the way up until 75 years ago, 80 years ago, music was free, right?
Yeah.
It's what we did to heal loss. It's what we did to celebrate life. We communicated with other tribes across valleys with drums.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? After the dinner, everybody gathered in a community and played music, and it was free.
It's just fun.
Right. So, with that being said, for the last 75, 80 years, we've been charging people for something that ideally was meant to be a healing tool.
Yeah.
So, as a species, why did we ever think that it would be different? I mean, sure, we take capitalism and we try to take music and charge people for it, but I'm of the thought that music should be free. It should be, because it's a healing tool. And I really don't think that you should manipulate music and use it in a selfish way like that. I mean, sure, make money off of it if you can, but the actual act of playing and creating, it never was about money. You know, it never was about monetary value. It was about, you know, the heart, the soul.
Yeah.
Being able to, you know, get emotion to this person sitting over here. You know, can you feel what I'm feeling through the tool of music? That's a beautiful thing, and I think we've lost a lot of that for the sake of
Money.
For the sake of money. And I think the internet basically is teaching us that stop all that. This is why you should be playing.
Yeah.
You know?